So before I actually get to drawing the forbidden pocket, I'm going to first ask you guys, as always, if you like this content or want to see more of this content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and go check out my other content around both design and manufacturing. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is I'm going to make sure we save this, and this is going to be the forbidden pocket. And what we're going to do is now make sure our timeline is on down here at the bottom, as you guys can see. And now we're going to create our sketch. So as in any and every video that I always seem to do, I always use rectangles and people get a good kick out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again. And what I'm laying out is the rough outline of what it is that I'm trying to achieve. So as you can see here is I actually have one cavity total and a second cavity here that when we get to extruding, we're going to utilize. But now I also need another rectangle to basically go around the entire perimeter of this. Now, some of you are probably asking, what is the actual scale and dimensions that I'm using? I am not going to dimension this until we get moving a little further on to give us anything and everything. So from here, we can go ahead and extrude out our profile just to see if this is going to work for us. So I'm actually going to take all of my sketch planes and I'm going to extrude that to depth. Then what I'm going to do from here is turn my sketch back on. And with this one, we're now going to extrude again, knowing that this pocket is going to be deeper. And then lastly, I'm hitting E on my keyboard to extrude another time to pull this pocket down as well. So as you can see, is what I'm doing right now is kind of proof of concept more than anything, knowing that I can go through and I can actually generate anything and everything as an idea long before getting too constrained or too tied up into what's going on and wasting that time trying to just model something that is going to require to be fixed anyways in the long run. So now that I have this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I would mirror this body now to create this pocket. Again, we have symmetric situation here, both left and right side is identical. So once we kind of proofed our concept here, as you can see, I'm now going to go back and add some dimensions. So if I go down here to my timeline and pick my sketch, this is where I could start to dimension anything and everything. So for example here, this dimension needs to be 3.875 to beginning of my pocket. Now the next dimension I'm going to add in is 3.53. Your dimensions could be different based on your situation and your setup. So I always tell people, make sure that you're paying attention when you go through this. Now, as you see here, I went ahead and added that dimension and it's kind of screwed everything up. But not to worry, because I can always drag things to the position that I need to get it aligned as needed. So again, as we're going to add some more dimensions here, 266 from this line to this pocket edge. And then again, we should have another dimension, 207 from here to here. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and plug in some widths now. So let's go ahead and find my width dimension. So we have a width of 69 from here to here. So that is going to be 0.69 divided by 2. Again, I'm going to just grab some of this stuff and pull it down to get it very close to where I want it. My next dimension is going to be a 0.50. So again, we're going to take this guy here, 0.5 divided by 2. And again, notice how that line is moved and that rectangle is constrained to this line. However, it's not actually constrained to this line that is on our center of our axis to our origin. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to speed this up by just doing a coincidence or a horizontal vertical. I like the horizontal vertical. We can go ahead and snap that back up in place. And just like that, you can see how my pockets are now setting where I need them. Now, I could put an overall length in this. This is not too much of an issue for me because I do know that I am just going to plug in, 0.5 here to fully constrain this sketch. Same thing with my outer width here. This is going to be something that's going to come off of your guys' drawing and your designs. Again, I'm just going to say, let's say it's let's go 1.25 divided by 2, right? So the main concern is when we get to machining this, we have these pockets to utilize for our machining profiles. So again, as I'm going to hit finish sketch, you're going to notice some things have changed here. Completely different shape that we have going on. I'm going to go ahead and now change my fillets out. So it looks like 0.21 is the fillet size in some places, 2.5 in other places. So we go back to our fillet command. I'm going to go ahead and just make them all 250. Actually, no, we won't make them all 250. We'll split them up here for you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to say remove selections, and then let's just say here, here, and here is all going to be 250. And then this guy down in here, I'm going to go back in there. I hit enter too quick. We're going to hit the plus sign. This one here is going to be 0.251. So as you can see, I can put, actually not 251. Let me go back to my drawing. 21, not 251. All right. So as you can see here is I can add different fillets in different locations all at the same time. And I'm kind of doing things out of order. So we did extrude the depth of these pockets long before we added the fillets. But because of my timeline, I always have the security to go back and change things as needed. So this guy is going to be 525 deep. Again, we're going to go to that other one. Another neat trick here, guys, is if I actually pick one of these surfaces here, as you're seeing is it's actually giving me these 3 little hash marks down here to show me where I actually created that extrude in my timeline. So again, this guy here is now going to be 1.25 deep. I'm also realizing that we forgot a certain feature here while we were extruding everything, so we can go ahead and add that in as well. Again, we go back to that sketch. I'm going to add another rectangle, which is going to go right in here. And then we're going to dimension this. So this is calling a dimension, in my case, off of this edge here at 0.70. I'm going to do another dimension from here to here at 0.7 also. And then again, we do have a width of 31. So we'll go through, and that's going to be 0.31 divided by 2 again, because we are working in a half profile. Again, we're going to finish. And as you can see here, we can actually do a couple of things when it comes to setting that total depth of extrude now, knowing that this is an 1.25 inch pocket. So again, we go back to when we did our initial extrude. I'm going to set it to 1.5. And now I am going to add this extrude where we're going to take this guy here, but I'm not going to do it in this phase. And the reason why I'm not going to do it right here when we did everything is because you're going to notice it only gives me half of an extrude, right? So let's go ahead and Control Z that real quick. I'm going to move my timeline back before my mirror. Now I'm going to extrude this profile. Again, as if I put that extrude in front of the fillet, I can then actually go into that fillet callout, add my fillets in. Again, knowing that is a 31 pocket, we're actually going to go with 0.31 divided by 2. And again, I selected the first one. If I hold Control, I can now select the second one. And just like that, by hitting OK and moving my timeline back, you're going to notice that we have basically drawn everything in this view and extruded it out to set our pocket with multiple depths. And we did this all with one sketch and minimal actual features in our feature tree. So now if we're going to go to a side view and we're going to add some holes that are going to be some cross holes here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a sketch on the side profile of this cube. I want to make sure that I am referencing my pocket correctly. And now with that information, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to flip over drawings, but we do know our first hole is going to be 3.604. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a hole here. And I'm going to add another 2 holes as well. So we have 1, 2, and 3 here. And in this case, we can now dimension them. So first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and say from here to the top is 0.375 as it's called out. My next dimension is going to be 689 from here to here. And then my last dimension back here is going to be a 464. So now we're going to dimension everything off the front. Again, you guys can dimension in any order. If you want to do each individual hole one at a time, it's more than okay. There's nothing wrong with this. And I like to tell people that this is almost like working with modeling clay at the end of the day. It's very forgiving if you accidentally do certain things. And you could always Control Z and get out of whatever it is you're doing. So for example, I'm having a little problem with the dimensional constraint. I'm hitting escape on my keyboard. Now I go back to my sketch dimension and I pick my edge again. Happens to the best of us, guys. Don't get too frustrated with this. I always tell people that sometimes if you just start over, or as you saw me very roughly draw this out, it's much easier for me and my brain to create a concept long before it is to try to be precise with my actual dimensioning. So Now that I have my 3 holes dimensioned out, you're going to notice that they're not really falling within my pocket, and that could be an error based on my design or my dimensional callouts based on what we have going on here. And in my case, it actually is. So let's go ahead and adjust that real quick. And I'm going to adjust that by, again, we're going to go ahead and say finish sketch. I constrained everything off this edge, which is the key element. But if I go to my initial sketch, and let's just say this dimension was actually, 2 something now instead, right? And when I hit finish sketch, you're going to notice that those holes have all now moved, again, because this length of the actual cube changed in that first sketch. And I could kick that on here so you guys could see it. But that actual distance changed, and we're constrained based on the origin. So that slid our actual reference edge down, constraining where all of our holes are. Again, you guys are going to want to check your dimensions and make sure that you have them all set. Same thing would apply in my case, again, is I would possibly go in and set the dimension of the size of these holes. Again, this is not super important for this demonstration because we just want to create the actual pocket. And I want you guys to be able to go out and draw this stuff as needed. So as you're seeing here is I'm picking those 3 shapes. They are through holes. They go fully through this body. So I can actually click this back face. And as you're seeing, it's automatically setting that to that 125 depth and creating that extrude. Now, if I wanted to pretty this up a little bit, you're more than welcome to. As always, we could go back and we could add some fancy little chamfers around the edges of our holes. Given that we had an internal chamfer tool or an undercut tool, we could actually go in and chamfer the backside of these holes, but it's not going to be a big deal in my case. I am just going to do this to show you guys, again, you can very quickly go in and manipulate and change, but something like breaking edges with fillets and chamfers makes a huge difference. I like to do it just based off the fact that I'd like to deburr these holes a little bit so that nobody cuts their fingers when they're actually messing around with it or taking it in and out of the machine. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and now pivot over to the manufacturing side. You guys are going to catch that into the next video here later today. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and check out my other content as well. Have a great rest of your day.